Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome everybody to the first webinar from the Sparx Global Webinar Series for 2022. So I'd like to welcome everybody for attending today. And our webinar today is entitled In-Model Collaboration with Enterprise Architect 16. So it's really exciting to showcase Enterprise Architect 16. My name's Scott Hebbard. I'm the Communications Manager at Sparx Systems. Now, with many staff working from home in recent times, it's never been more important to support collaboration within an enterprise. Enterprise Architect 16 provides a suite of tools to help teams to collaborate and model together. The Sparx tool suite, which consists of Enterprise Architect, Pro Cloud Server, and Prolaborate, all help teams collaborate. But in this particular example, with the release of the Enterprise Architect 16 beta, we're going to be focusing on Enterprise Architect 16. So Enterprise Architect 16 allows you to chat in real time, keep a personal model-based diary, use model mail to ensure conversations are focused and in context, provide and manage review feedback, share small files via chat, and record ad hoc ideas in an element journal. So in today's session, we're going to show how Enterprise Architect 16 can do this. Now, from the Start menu, all of your collaboration tools are one click away. We're going to use model mail, which means there's no more spam because everybody using it are security users within the model, so you can trust them. You can link to model elements and discussions and diagrams, and you never lose those discussions because they're stored as part of the model repository. So this is really important because you don't lose IP and you don't lose key decisions. You can always access a discussion history, and that's really important. You get notifications in the top right-hand corner of your Enterprise Architect, letting you know if you have any new model mail or messages. And as I mentioned, there's secure users only, and you can set up a diagram to support collaboration so that you can instantly communicate with people. And you can use the context menu to access journals, send chats and discussions, and send messages to the people that you want to communicate with. So Enterprise Architect 16 allows you to support communication, and you can also create and manage reviews. You can then filter those reviews to see any that are open, any that are closed or waiting review, and you can access a review history. There's also a new feature called Auto Refresh, which provides a virtual whiteboard, and you can also use a journal to jot down any ideas that you might have. So there's lots in Enterprise Architect 16 to help support collaboration, and today we're going to cover some of those topics, and we're going to step through each of them to show you how you can create a chat message, how you can create a journal, how you can use auto refresh within Enterprise Architect 16, and how you can use all of these collaboration tools together to help work better as a team. Now, just before I begin, at Sparx Systems, we use these tools every day, and we've been using Enterprise Architect 16 at Sparx Systems for every aspect of running our enterprise. So this just isn't some conceptual thing which would be good. Most Sparx System staff are still working from home. I'm working from home at the moment, so you might hear my daughter getting ready to head off to school in the background, or possibly a dog barking if he misbehaves. But we use Enterprise Architect 16 every single day, and the collaboration features every day, and I can't imagine being in a workplace that doesn't have Enterprise Architect. If I want to talk to the boss, I can send a chat message. I know every single time I open up Enterprise Architect, I look to see whether the notification's there, to see what messages I have, to see what chat messages I have. Everything's stored within the model. And if I want to communicate to the marketing team, I can do it instantly. If I want to talk to the dev team, I can do it instantly. I can see all the staff. And so we're going to cover some of those things. But rather than talk about Sparx, to help demonstrate this today, what we're going to do is we're going to use an airport model, and the airport is an airport digital transformation model. So This particular model has been developed in Enterprise Architect 16. So you can see I've got two diagrams here, one which looks at staff and the other which is a navigation for various examples. So on screen, you'll see that I have a strategy cross map that talks about passengers and security. I've got an architecture model, which happens to be TOGAF. I have an initiative map, which shows how the digital transformation works. I have a series of requirements, and I have my staffing team, some strategic models, and looking at some strategic outcomes. So all of these elements fit together, and we're going to step into the role of an executive at this airport and show how some of these collaborative tools might be used in order to make work more collaborative and work better. So using Model Mail, on screen we have a strategy map for our airport digital transformation. And you can see in the top right hand corner we have a message notification. So I can see there's one unread message. So I can simply click on that and it will automatically open up my Model Mail dialog. You will note that any unread messages appear in bold. So it's very easy and you get used to looking for those notifications and reading mail first thing every morning. When I double click on it, I can see that it says, "Hi Stephen, please find a diagram to set up and calculate the angle of descent." Now, what's really good is that this particular message has a link to a diagram and has a link to glossary terms. So when you compose a message, it's very easy to insert links to diagrams, to model elements, and to glossary terms. And all of this information is stored in the model. You can see from the start menu, you can always access the mail tool. You can see that I can set up groups of users. So I've got the BPM team and the application team. So I'm now going to compose a message and I'm going to use insert quick link to link to the navigate to the airport transformation digital transformation initiative diagram. I can highlight and change font and color, bullet points, all the usual things that you can do in Mail. But one of the other things that's really quite useful is that I can highlight any item. So I've got the word here, COVID, and I can instantly create a glossary definition. Now, why this is useful is that sometimes you'll have business and technical terms and you want them defined within the model so that everybody is on the same page and they all understand what's being said. So that's how easy it is to create links to diagrams, to model elements, to create glossary terms, and to integrate that all within Model Mail. And all of that mail is available to any secure users within the enterprise. I can also quickly look at any sent messages, and at Sparx, my sent messages folder is a bit more full than this particular example. However, you can search and filter through your mail to find things from a particular user, and you can find the emails that you want. So many of you will be familiar with Model Mail, but with Enterprise Architect 16, there's been lots of upgrades to how you can insert elements. There's certainly been updates to the notification because you not only get notified about Model Mail, but about chats and discussions. So the next thing we're going to look at is element discussions. So let's imagine that our team is going to discuss, the angle of descent in real time, and we want to try and figure out how to calculate the angle of descent. So here we have a very simple example where we have a Scriptlet, and I can at any time select collaborate, and I can access discussions, reviews, and journals. And if I bring up discussions, you can see we have several team members that are talking about the element. The Chief Operating Officer has inquired about additional examples. Stephen, the EA, has replied that there's a number of model wizard examples for scriptlets that ship with Enterprise Architect 16. So there are a number of examples that cover spreadsheet, risk, geometry, and much more. And I'm sure I'll do a webinar about that in future. And it's very easy to set the status to open, alert, error, accept, or reject for each of those messages. And you can see the icons that are appearing on screen. And in addition to being able to set the status, we can also very quickly set the priority, and we can reply to those messages all in place. Now, whenever you have discussions, these element discussions are stored in the model repository. Now, this is really important because it means that the information is stored in the repository, it's not lost. So any key decisions that are made between the executive staff are there in the model and they're not lost. And if you have any useful discussions or meaningful discussions about a model, then that intellectual property related to that discussion is stored in the model repository and is not lost. So you can see we go on, there's a discussion to say, can you use tan rather than cosine in order to calculate the angle of descent? And this discussion goes on. And these are often quite useful to have them in place and in context. Now you'll note that not only can you create a discussion, but you can look at the discussion history. So you can see everything that has been discussed about a particular element, and it's all recorded in the model. So we've looked at model mail and element discussion. So the next thing I want to look at is how you enable collaboration on a diagram and how you can use that, and how you can use the pictures in order to communicate and chat with staff members, and how you can interact with them in a new and interesting way, which is supported in Enterprise Architect 16. So in Enterprise Architect 16, it's possible to enable collaboration on a diagram. So if we've created a diagram with pictures representing each member of the executive and the operations team. Now, if I bring up the diagram properties and I select element, you can see that there's a new option saying support collaboration, and you can do it with none, with alias, with locking user, or with both. Now in this particular example, I'm going to select with alias, and then for each of those pictures, I'm going to set up an alias so that it points to a secure user on our system. So I can do that, and if I bring up the properties on the right-hand side, you can see I have an alias set up for Stephen, who's our CEO, for Roy, who's our Chief Financial Officer, Annabelle has an alias of COO, Stephen, our Enterprise Architect, has EA, and so on and so forth. So each of these individuals has an alias, and that alias is used in order to link back to the secure users or security users as shown on screen. So they're all defined and set up here. And so now we can instantly communicate with any of these staff from the executive and operations team by simply clicking on their picture, right-clicking and using the context menu in order to collaborate with them. So this is a new feature that allows you to enable collaboration and makes it very easy to see who you're talking to and what sort of things you're going to say. So let's have a look at this and look at real-time model chat and how it might be used. So I'm going to log in as the admin this time. So I'm just going to enter my username and password. And you'll notice in the top right-hand corner, there's a notification. And this is something that you get used to every time you log in with Enterprise Architect. Notifications are available. You'll also see that since I've enabled collaboration on this diagram, there's a little red icon next to the Chief Executive Officer. So whenever the CEO wants to chat to you, it's always a good idea to make sure you respond. So I'm going to click on the CEO, and you'll see that it automatically brings up the chat that I've had with the CEO. So you can see there's information there about depart for destination, and it says, could you please send an updated cash flow template to Roy, the new CFO? So we really want to send that file. And while traditionally at Sparx, everything we do is in Enterprise Architect. Some people out there still use spreadsheets and other tools. So I'm going to send a file. And it also says, can you have a look at the depart for destination specification? We might need to update our boarding process to check COVID status. So we can do that. So I'm going to send a chat message, and you can see I just use the context menu that's associated with that picture or avatar or icon. So I'm going to send a message to the Chief Financial Officer saying the CEO wanted me to send you the latest cash flow statement. As you can see, if you make a spelling mistake, like I've done with the word cash there, it automatically underlines it. So you can fix that on the go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to send small files by chat. And so this is nice and easy. So I can just insert a document. I select my little ODS spreadsheet and I hit send. And that will go through. Now, not only can you send it to an individual user, but you can send it to groups of users. And all I need to do is control click and it will automatically open that cash flow statement up. So the CFO now has access to that, and they can access history of all documents. They can save that document to their local file system. So essentially, this allows you to chat and communicate with different people. You can see that I can rapidly switch my chat between the Chief Financial Officer and the CEO and the Enterprise Architect and the Risk Manager. I can have multiple conversations at once, and I can communicate information. And I've let the CEO know that I've now sent the cash flow statement to Roy, and there's a message here from the Enterprise Architect user saying, have you seen Enterprise Architect 16 yet? And you can see it's underlined Enterprise Architect because there is a glossary item defined for Enterprise Architect. So this is obviously really good if you're having conversations and you're using technical or business language, which is really important that it remains consistent. You can store that in the glossary, so whenever you're interacting with the team, all they need to do is hover over the glossary term and they can see it instantly. The other thing is you can see that I can click on links and automatically bring up the airport ecosystem. I can bring up models, and I can have discussions, and they're context sensitive. So you're talking about a particular element and you can link to that element directly. You can select any element in the project browser, copy it and paste it into chat, and they'll have a link to that element as well. So it's really, really great to keep everything tightly integrated, all within the chat and mail tool. And you can see that the chat and model mail and chat history and diary are all kept together in a nice, convenient way. You can see that there are group chats that you've set up. So at Sparx Systems, we have one for the dev team, one for the marketing team, one for the sales team, and much, much more. And it's a really good way of sending out a message and interacting with 5 or 10 or 50 individuals and being able to communicate with them and let them know what's important. You can see we can check for messages every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, and we can manage chat documents. So this is what I mentioned before, that all of the files that have been sent, so there's some images and backgrounds, the cash flow statement, the webinar script, each of these options, I can simply click on it and I can open those files, or I can download them locally. So it really allows you to manage your chat documents. Obviously, you can always insert them as a model element so that they're stored permanently within the model. But from time to time, when you're having a collaborative discussion, there might be a need to send a sample image. So for example, if I was working with my graphic designer, they might send through some pictures. I'll look at those pictures and say, yes, let's select image 5 and then move it to the model once it's approved. So there's lots of things that you can do in order to process and manage your chat documents and to be able to interact with them. So you can see I can save as, I can detach, and there's also filter, so I can look at sent and received items, and for each of those columns I can do a search, and I can search by date order, and I can sort appropriately. So if there's lots of documents, it's very easy to find the ones that are interested to me, and I can of course limit those elements to things that are just related to a particular chat. So that is also very beneficial and very helpful. So so far we've looked at model, we've looked at chat, we've looked at being able to send small files. So the next thing we're going to look at is reviews, and reviews have been streamlined and enhanced with enhanced management capabilities and workflow capabilities in Enterprise 16. So we're going to build a new review here. So we're going to add a review element, and that's on screen. If I bring up the properties dialog on the right, I can give any review element a suitable name, and I can set the status to active or open or closed. But in this particular case, I'm setting it to active to open the review for discussion. I can set the start and end date. So we have a duration for the review, and I can add any relevant notes in the description to outline the aim of the review and help team members contribute effectively. I simply double click to open up the manage reviews window. And of course, whenever you have a review, you need to right click and join that review. So it's very easy to join and leave a review. This is a composite element that you can see in the project browser, and this nested review set diagram allows you to add elements that may be relevant to the review. So you can add a diagram, you can add elements. So you can add one element at a time, or you can add an entire package if that's important, and you can even add a diagram and add that as a navigation cell and have it all stored within your review. So you can add any diagrams or elements that form a substantial part of the review, and at any time you can refresh to see any changes update. The improved user interface allows you to join an active review and to leave it. You can filter your reviews, and you can add an approver to a given review. So you might want, the CEO or a manager to approve the review once it's complete. So this gives you a very formalized, structured approach to reviewing documents. You can create approvers for a review. You can have a discussion on that review. So on the right-hand side, you can see, we've got a discussion saying, is there any way we can ensure the date displays correctly? So this is really great for, a business process, for a coding example, where you want to make sure that someone reviews everything that's been written, they review the text, they review the code, they review the functionality, and they get back to the team. You might have 5 or 6 staff that you want to join the review. You have a reviewer, and you have a summary of the reviews all on screen, and it's all managed within a single window in a convenient, suitable method. You can view tests, maintenance items, and resource allocations instantly. And you can see I can simply right click and I can show the maintenance window, I can show the resources window, so I can see if a particular staff member has time available, and I can assign time for them to process this review element. So we've had a look at our airport example, and now we're going to have a look at auto refresh diagrams, and this is a brand new feature in Enterprise Architect 16, which allows you to turn your diagram into a shared whiteboard, allowing a truly collaborative team meeting in real time. Collaborators can see the changes to any diagram immediately, as it evolves. So let's have a look at the example. So we have two people both logged on at the same time. On the left-hand side, you've got Oliver, and on the right-hand side, you've got Eliza. And they're taking this basic use case model and using it as a whiteboard to have a collaborative meeting online. So use context menu, select collaborative, auto refresh, and I set, after setting pause and edit duration to 7 seconds, Oliver is free to make changes. Eliza can see that the 7-second duration has been applied. And once Oliver is happy with the changes to the ordering system design, he can commit those changes using the resume option. These changes become available to Eliza in the allotted time interval. So you can combine this feature with chat in order to discuss and have a virtual whiteboard online, where you can have 5 or 6 team members, and one person at a time selects pause and edit. They make changes and say, what do you think of this? So this avoids some of the issues about a diagram being locked. An individual can make changes, and then they can hit resume, and those changes after the allotted time period then appear on everyone's diagram. You can accept or reject those changes. You can use chat features and discussion features in order to discuss how these things work. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to take any enterprise architect diagram and turn it into a shared whiteboard and have a truly collaborative virtual meeting online where you can collaborate on the modeling process and how things should be done. You can seek feedback. So if you change the name of an element or the color or the location, or you change your notes, you change properties, you can say, what do we think about this? Does this still look good in the context of the model? And go from there. So in today's session, we've looked at auto refresh diagrams, we've looked at model mail, chat, discussions. So there are a few other things that we want to have a look at during this session. And one of the other things that we want to have a look at is the ability to look at journals. So just once again, just highlighting some of these things about the auto refresh diagrams. It allows you to turn your diagram into shared whiteboard, allows you to auto reload. And so I've covered some of these elements already. So I'm just going to pause briefly and reset. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to briefly talk about some of the questions from the audience, and I'm going to start up Enterprise Architect and respond to some of your questions. And so one of the first questions, which we often have, is will this be made available? So my aim is to make the webinar available to everybody on YouTube. I usually get that done within 24 hours, and then I respond to the Q&A, and usually within a week that's made available. So if you go to sparksystems.com/webinars, all of our previous webinars are available. And so you can have a look at those webinars, have a look at the Q&A. download sample models. So we certainly have a comprehensive set there. There's a question here saying, did these improvements also extend integrations with Microsoft Teams and SharePoint? So many of those features that support integration to Outlook and SharePoint are offered with our other tool, Sparx Systems Prolaborate, and I'm happy to talk to the Prolaborate team to talk about some of those things. As I said in the beginning, the focus of this is looking at Enterprise Architect 16 and some of the new features. So thanks for your question, Ralph, and it does highlight an important aspect of this project, which is that we're looking at Enterprise Architect 16. The beta has been released. And of course, as with all software that's in beta, it may be subject to change, and some of the features may change and update. But we really do have a really comprehensive set of tools that can help with collaboration. Someone else has asked about, how we use some of these tools to increase our productivity. And I have to say, it doesn't impact us as much, the fact that we're all working from home, because I can send a chat message to the CEO or Chief Operating Officer or members of the marketing team or to the dev team, and I can get a response really quickly. If I am referring to a document and I want feedback on the document, I can send a link to that document in the model. So people aren't spending a whole lot of time searching through a file system trying to find a particular document or a particular element. Everything's in context. So it's very, very focused, and it allows you to target your attention to a particular aspect, which is certainly quite powerful. There's another question about a journal. So I'm just going to log in here as the admin, and I can very quickly select from the start menu, collaborate, and you can see there is 3 options: journal, discuss, and review. So if I bring up a journal, you can see that there's a daily journal, and so I can, add a to-do list. Now, at Sparx Systems, we use the journal every single day so we can keep track of what work we've done for the day. And I find it really useful to have this journal in order to jot down any daily tasks, and other people can review my journal entry to see what I'm working on at any particular time, what tasks are challenging, what successes I've had, what things have failed, what are my goals and objectives for the day, and I can build a to-do list. I can also insert links to other diagrams and to other models, so the journal is quite helpful. You'll note that the journal, the discussions, so if I select an element, you'll see it automatically selects initiative. If I go into strategy and I select an element here, then the discussion will be for that. Now this one's about the boarding process. So if I say update the boarding process, you can see that it does a time and date stamp, and it's based on that element, and that discussion is stored within the model repository, which is quite powerful as well. So there's a few other quick questions. There's a question here that talks about why would you use these collaboration features rather than a third-party chat tool? And one of the advantages of doing it all within Enterprise Architect is, first of all, if I go to my team, so my staffing team, so up here I've got a staffing diagram, I can instantly see every individual. Using the properties and the alias that I mentioned, I can use this context menu to instantly send them a message or to chat. All of our previous mail messages and chat discussions are all recorded here within the model, so no IP is lost. Let's say the CEO or the CFO makes a decision, well, that decision is then recorded within the model and it's documented. So you don't lose IP, you don't lose decisions, and often, and this happens quite a bit, that you'll be working in an enterprise and a lot of information and decisions and ideas about a project will be in somebody's head, and when they leave the organization, that information can often be lost. However, using this approach of having integrated chat and mail and collaboration tools and having it all within Enterprise Architect and having it all available means that this information is not lost. So that's quite powerful. I've been used to hosting, and you're hosting and you're also delivering the presentation. It's a little bit challenging to filter through all the questions, but we'll do another couple of questions and then I'll wrap things up. There's a question here talking about will we be covering some of the collaboration capabilities of WebEA. Now, one of the great things about these collaboration tools is if you have an element discussion and then all of this is set up by the Pro Cloud server and then you're viewing your model in WebEA, then you can see those element discussions in WebEA. So while this is not the focus of this particular webinar, it is a really good point to indicate that if you wanted to, share your model and allow stakeholders to be able to consume model elements, you can enable, these chats and discussions and element discussions to appear visible within WebEA, which allows those stakeholders to then consume those messages. So while I don't have examples, and this particular file happens to be a QEA file, and it's local rather than stored on the Pro Cloud server. For people that aren't aware, there's new 64-bit file formats that are supported in Enterprise Architect 16. That's also some new features. We have a question here about how you might be able to find out more about Enterprise Architect 16 and to download it. And if you go to the Sparx Systems website, you can access these features. So I might just bring that up now. So here's sparxsystems.com. So you can see the beta versions available. So if you're a registered user, you can download Enterprise Architect 16 today to try that out and to demonstrate and test some of those features. And you can see some of the collaboration features that we've discussed are right up the top here. So chat in real time, personal model-based diary, stay in touch with other modelers using model-based mail, record ad hoc ideas and thoughts using the element journal, create posts and topics and discussions, and collect and manage feedback using the new review system. And I also demonstrated with the small spreadsheet that you can share files and images with team members by attaching them to chat messages. There's another question asking about the scriptlets and how I created those. So what I might do is I'll just quickly bring up my model, and here just under solution delivery, I'm just going to add a model using the wizard. So you can see there are a number of different scriptlet examples here. Now, the one that I showed in the webinar was the geometry example. So I just simply create the model, save the diagram, and here I've got this cosine example that I've just created from a scriptlet, and I can simply run the script. If I bring up the notes, I can change the hypotenuse. So let's change it from 33 to 25. And then I simply right click, run the script, and it updates the angle. And if I double click, you can see here's the scriptlet code. And the thing that's important is this bit, which does a session output that works out the cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. And those three things are stored as values, and it gets those values from the node elements. So yeah, there are a number of different scriptlet examples. We happen to be using the cosine one, but there are other scriptlet examples. So let's say I create a different one, but this time I do the table scriptlet. So I can create a model there and create a nice little table in Enterprise Architect. So I'm just going to check the questions. Do you have a date for Enterprise Architect version 16 on the market? We don't have a release date yet, but I'd keep an eye out for a release candidate coming up shortly, and we'll let customers know when Enterprise Architect's ready. And as always, the Enterprise Architect 16 page will be updated, and the forum will be updated when the official release does come out. With that, I'd like to thank everybody for their attendance and their time today. It was really great opportunity to showcase some of the collaboration features, some of the new features within Enterprise Architect 16, the model chat, the auto refresh diagrams, and we covered quite a lot in a short period of time. Thanks all for your time and for your questions, and I look forward to seeing you in future webinars where we're going to talk about more Enterprise Architect 16 features, talk about ProLaborate, ProCloud Server, and how they can help you in your modeling tasks and helping you with your enterprise work. I appreciate your time. Have a great day. Look after one another, and I'll see you again soon.